Hey everyone, SunTide here. Hope you all are doing great. So, in my last two Monster Hunter Wilds videos, I talked about the different damage skills that are in Monster Hunter Wilds and which ones are good and which ones are less good. In the first video, I spoke a lot about the general use skills, things like attack boost or maximum might or weakness exploit, and the second video I spoke specifically about Flare. However, one thing that was pointed out a lot in the comments were that a lot of really good skills are really good for only specific weapons, for only particular weapons. So like the lance always wants to use offensive guard, dual blades or bows might want to use adrenaline rush, and so not talking about that in the first video felt like a bit of an absence to a lot of people. And I agree, so that's what we're going to talk about a lot on this video. We're going to talk about those weapon specific skills, when they're good, when they're not good, and which ones we should be trying to use. Okay, so we're going to be talking about 4 skills specifically today. We're going to be talking about offensive guard, which is on the weapon, along with 3 skills that can go on your armor, which are Adrenaline Rush, Ambush, and Counterstrike. So all of these could potentially be good for specific builds or weapons or just some particular playstyles. So yeah, let's get to it. Quickly, though, a summary of what we saw in the last videos. Basically what we were doing was we were comparing how much damage your skill increases compared to a general build that starts with around 230 raw and 40 affinity, which is what you might get with like a decently optimized build late game. And what we saw was that most good skills, so things like a maximum might or agitator that go on your armor, grant a bit more than 1% damage per point. So if you fit in one more point of maximum might or one more point of this exploit, you're going to get 1% more damage. What this means is that if we ever want to replace one of these skills with something better, it needs to increase our damage by more than 1%. So that's sort of the baseline we're aiming for. We want to check if these new skills we're going to talk about today are going to increase damage by more than 1%. At least, especially for the armor. For the weapon, it's different. We're only going to talk about one weapon skill today, because there is only one that's nice and specific, and that is Offensive Guard. Sorry, there we go. Offensive Guard. And so what Offensive Guard does is, if you perfectly time a guard, your attack improves dramatically for about 5 seconds. So I can show you that in this trainer room over here. So if we make the training dummy attack us, and we time our guard correctly, let's hope I do this right. So he's going to attack us, and then, okay, I failed that one. But when we guard the attack, we're going to improve our attack by 5%. And the timing is pretty lenient. I missed the first one. I'm going to blame lag because I'm on OBS right now. But the attack boost is pretty significant, and it lasts around 12 seconds. So you can see it's still going on. 12 seconds is a long time, and it's about enough time for, the attack to go up again. So I'm on 206 attack right now, and when I defend with 3 points of offensive guard, I go up to 234. So that's an absolutely massive increase for 3 points in this skill. This basically means that Offensive Guard is going to be your best in slot weapon skill if you use a weapon that effectively uses guards, so things like Lance and Gun Lance. So Offensive Guard is amazing, best in slot, and you need to fit your other weapon skills, so things like attack boost or crit boost, around it. Okay? Let's go into that a bit more detail though, because I did a bit more... I looked a bit more closely into this. So in the first video, I spoke about how attack boost is going to be your best, crit boost is going to be second best usually, but it's going to be similar to crit eye. I stand by that. I think that's a nice simplification, but it is a bit more complicated, mostly because attack boost 5 is so much better than other levels of attack boost. So there's going to be a point where crit boost is going to be better than attack boost, but attack boost is going to be better for most real situations. So on screen right now is going to be a table that shows the brute-forced optimal combination of attack boost, crit eye, and crit boost for different affinities before crit eye, and different amounts of slots you have for your armor. Okay, so I made a whole Python code that calculated all of these combinations for every affinity and every slot from 0 to 12. You are never going to get 12 skills. I just wanted to future-proof it because I feel like we're going to get better decorations later on, and I want to make this video a bit future-proof. But so most of the endgame longswords, at least, and I think most weapons, have a 3 slot, a 2 slot, and a 1 slot. And what that means is you can fit 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6 different skills, 6 different weapon skills on your weapon. There are combination 3 slot decorations, but none of them give a lot of points of attack boost, crit, eye, or offensive guard, the big 4. Some of them give like minor points in some of them, but you can never max out any of them with the 3-point decoration. Or the 3-point decoration that has another skill on it. Okay, so we're going to assume you're going to try and max out these 4. So what you want to do is you want to go down the table, and you're going to see the point where you have as many slots as you have. So here, if we're using a basic weapon, 6 slots. And then we're going to go across it to see how much affinity we have. So say you have 50 affinity and 6 slots. At this point, the optimal combination of attack boost, and crit eye is going to be 5 attack boost and 1 critical boost. Basically until you have, I believe it's 60, until you have 60 affinity, you want to go max out attack boost with either 1 extra point on crit eye or crit boost. At 65 or above affinity, then you want to go 6 crit boost. Okay? That's if you have a weapon with a 3 slot, a 2 slot, and a 1 slot. Now, there's another table I did specifically for if you only have 3 slot decorations. And this is quite similar. So if you have 3 slot decorations, like you would if you're using an RTN weapon, you always want to go 5 attack boost, just because that 5th point attack boost is so good. No matter what your affinity is, 5 attack boost is going to be the best. The thing that changes is that when you go above 35 affinity, your last slot should go to crit boost. If you have 30 or below affinity, you want to go crit eye instead. Okay? Now this is if you have all of your slots free and you are using a slot for another skill. If you are using a slot for another skill, like if you're using offensive guard, or if you're using a sharpness skill, or using some other utility skill, then it changes a bit. You can see the table again. So basically though, if you have a 1-2 slot and 1-1 slot available, you want to max out your crit boost if your affinity is 55 or higher. Otherwise, you want a combination of other skills, and if you have a 2-3 slots available, then below 50 or below affinity, you want to have attack boost 5. Between 55 and 65, you want to go 3 crit eye, 3 crit boost, and at 70 or above, you want to go 5 crit boost. Okay, so this is the more complicated answer to what I had in the last video. I hope you appreciate that. I'll put the table. The table is on screen. You can also check more information in the description. Cool? Okay, so there. Offensive guard, attack boost, crit boost, and crit eye. Those are your big 4 weapon skills, roughly in that priority order. Follow the table for more specific details. Okay, so that is our weapon skills that I can touch upon. Now let's talk about the armor skills I can touch upon. There are 3 of them. So the first one is Adrenaline Rush. And what Adrenaline Rush does is gives you a nice bonus to your raw if you perfectly time a dodge. And that gives you 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30 raw, and that lasts for 30 seconds. 30 seconds isn't much, but it's something, and if you're constantly dodging attacks, then your uptime can be pretty decent. Now, to hit that 1% threshold we were aiming for, what you need is to have 25% uptime for the first level of the skill. As you can see, for later levels of the skill, instead of increasing raw by 10 points, it only increases by 5 points, which means you're only going to get around 0.5% uptime at later levels. What that means is that if you have 25% uptime, 1 point of adrenaline skill is going to be good. It's going to be fine. You need a bit higher than 25% for it to be undeniably better than other skills. For later skill points, you'll want to have 50% uptime or higher, which is doable if you're very good, but not always reliable. So bottom line, Adrenaline Rush is good if you can maintain the uptime, but you need to be really good at maintaining the uptime, and also if you're constantly dodging, you aren't continuing doing damage, right? So it's a trade-off. Adrenaline Rush is probably really good if you're using a weapon that really relies on dodging a lot, but for most weapons, it's not something I would recommend, including, personally, in my opinion, for the longsword. Well, I guess if you use Crimson Slash a lot and you Foresight Roll is really good and it activates Adrenaline Rush. I'll think about that more later on when we start talking about Element, because I assume that spin this will be best. But that being said, yeah, so Adrenaline Rush is good if you dodge a lot, but you need to actually dodge a lot. Ambush. So this is an interesting skill. I saw this mentioned a lot regarding speedruns and whatever else. Because what it does is when you land a sneak attack on a monster, you get a nice percentage bonus to your roll. 5, 10, 50% roll after landing a sneak attack. What's difficult is that it only lasts for 30 seconds, which is really, really short. And even if the attack boost is really high, the uptime is really, really low. So say you're really good at the game, say you're hunting a monster and you knock it down, you beat it in 2.5 minutes, okay? Very fast hunt. If you have a 2.5 minute hunt, and Ambush is active for only 30 seconds of the hunt, that is 20% uptime, which means you're only getting around 1% damage increase per level. So even in this really fast situation, really good situation, you're still only getting this 1% damage increase per level. So you need to be able to beat a monster in less than 2.5 minutes for Ambush to be better than something like Max Might or Weakness Exploit, which is very, very unlikely, I think. I guess what you could do is if you're trying to go through all of the low rank optional quests, then maybe you could have an ambush build built, because then you would defeat the monsters very quickly. But yeah, unless you're like a super, super good speedrunner that can take out a monster in like a minute, ambush probably isn't going to be your best bet. That, or if your weapon can't use affinity or another skill. Okay, so ambush, I wouldn't really recommend it in almost every situation, but in theory it could be good. And the last skill that I think is actually pretty interesting is Counterstrike. And so what Counterstrike does is it gives you 10, 15, or 25 raw after being hit by a knockdown attack, by an attack that knocks you down. So that includes barrel bombs. So right now I'm going to hit it with a barrel bomb, and I get Counterstrike activated, which is very nice, and it gives me 10 raw, which is substantial. It's the same thing that Adrenaline Rush gives, so once more with 25% uptime, I get a 1% damage boost. The really cool thing about this, though, is you don't need to be actually knocked down. You need to be hit by an attack that knocks you down, if that makes sense. So let me go through that example. Okay, so this is what I mean. This is what we're going to do. We're going to place down a barrel bomb. We're going to take out our weapon, and then we're going to focus strike apart. Now, because I'm invincible during that animation, I didn't get knocked back, and I was able to do high damage, but also Counterstrike activated during my focus attack, which means I got that really nice 10 attack, 10 roll bonus. Which means Counterstrike is surprisingly consistent if if you want to do the barrel bomb, or you have another move like I think the Greatsword Tackle that makes you immune to knockback. So you could tackle through an attack that would knock you down and get Counterstrike that way, which I think is really cool. Another cool thing about the skill is that the duration increases depending on your level. So from 30 seconds at level 1 to 35 at level 2 and 45 at level 3. What this means is that Counterstrike at higher levels is viable. That's point 1. Point 2 is if you're trying to take a monster really quickly, then you can manually trigger a really big Counterstrike attack bonus. You can trigger it by hyper armoring, like by attacking through a monster attack that knocks you down, to get the benefit without actually being knocked down, which is really cool. So bottom line, Counterstrike is surprisingly viable if you can maintain the uptime, but to maintain the uptime you need to play in a specific way. You need to, for example, use bombs and focus strikes, or use Greatsword Tackle, or use something like that. And so with that, those are our niche skills tested. So in conclusion, in summary, Offensive Guard is best in slot if you guard. If you can do that, definitely Defensive Guard, and then after that, again, focus on attack boost and crit eye in general. For more details, see the section of the video with the table. In terms of other armor skills, Adrenaline Rush and Counterstrike are both decent, but for both of them, you need 25% uptime on the skill for level 1 to be worth it, and 50% uptime for higher levels to be worth it. Ambush, I do not recommend, unless you can take a monster down in 1 or 2 minutes, or your weapon can't use affinity. So, With that being said, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Oh, I didn't have the thank you slide. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. The next video will be about set bonuses. I'll record that right after this. But if you appreciate the content, like and subscribe. I did make a Patreon the other day, so if you have spare money around and you like my content, I would really appreciate if you join up. And yeah, my current Patreons include the people who are on screen right now. If you'd like to join that, please do. That will go towards funding a new microphone and a new camera and a new hard drive, so my laptop won't crash anymore. And yeah, hope to see you all in the next one where we talk about all the different set bonuses. Bye.